All right, welcome everyone to the What's New in Conga Composer 8 webinar. I'm Robert Boyd. I'm a product and partner marketing specialist here at Conga. And today, as the title indicates, we are here to talk about the new features and functionality in our upcoming release of Conga Composer version 8. So the intended audience for today's webinar will be administrators and consultants who have some previous experience with Composer. Because today I'm going to be taking you through a few hands-on examples to actually see how the new functionality in Composer 8 works. So physically going through some demos to actually see those features in action. If you're looking for more info about how to enable these new features we'll be discussing, including new solution control parameters and limits, I'd encourage you to check out the release notes. We'll make sure to include a link to that too. Alright, so 4 main topics to cover in today's webinar. I'm going to start by taking you through some of the user interface enhancements in Composer 8. And there's some pretty big visual differences in the UI between 7 and 8. So we're going to spend some time getting familiar with the new interface, take a look at some of the new features there, and generally see how it streamlines the whole experience of using Composer. Next, we're going to take a look at some of the enhancements to the template builder, and I'm really excited about those because some of the features there are going to make the creation and deployment of Composer templates just quicker and easier than ever before. So we'll take a close look at those. And then we're going to talk about the new email editor enhancements. And we're going to look at the new email features through kind of 3 lenses, where I'm going to show you some of the functionality around editing an outbound email and what we can do when we're sending one. We're going to take a look at some of the functional changes in terms of what kinds of emails Composer can send with what kinds of attachments. And then we're actually going to look at some of the changes to how you would go about creating your HTML email template in the very first place, and some new functionality around creation. And then, finally, we're going to land on a very exciting new topic, which is the Google Drive integration available in Conga Composer 8. And there's some really exciting possibilities for what that integration will open up, so we'll take a look at a couple examples of how it can be used. Awesome. So we're going to take a little trip over to my demo org here in Salesforce, where we have some Composer 8 buttons all queued up to take a look at. So working from an opportunity record here, this Create an Email PDF Proposal button is going to launch Composer 8. And we're going to start by taking a look at the enhancements to the user interface. So, like I said, they're dramatic. You can probably notice a pretty big difference right away. But I want to sort of work clockwise here in this interface to show you what's new. So first of all, templates are now searchable and sortable. So I could search for a particular template here, maybe an invoice. I could sort them alphabetically. Makes it easier to search for your templates. On the left-hand side of every template, you now have a file type icon, so it's really easy to see what type of template you're working with. And you can see as I'm scrolling through these, if I hover over a template in this list, I get information about that template itself. So things like its record ID, where it's stored, when it was last modified, pretty helpful info. Administrators also have the option to navigate directly to a template Salesforce record by clicking the magnifying glass here, or to download the template directly by clicking this other icon. So it's important to note that these options are only available for administrators by default and not for end users, but this makes it really easy for you to access and edit your templates right from this list. Moving up here, this new button, this Select Multiple Templates button, is actually enabled through the use of a parameter. So if you have the parameter Select Templates equals 2 included in your button, then you have the ability to toggle between this normal Composer 8 interface where I can pick templates and make choices, and our multiple template selection dialog, where I could pick more than one template and order them over here on the right-hand side, and toggle right back and forth between this interface, where I can pick more than one template, and the normal Composer 8 page right here. So nice and handy that you can toggle back and forth with this button to select multiple templates. Moving over to this right-hand column, the related contact dropdown is now available for all master object types. So if there's a primary contact role, it's going to default to that, but you can also define who this contact is, this related contact, through the contact ID parameter, which makes a lot of sense. So if you include that, you can basically determine whoever that contact is going to be. But if you want to make choices on the fly, I could drop this down, and I have a list of all the contacts related to my opportunities account in this case. Or I could use the lookup feature to search for any contact in my org. So moving down this right-hand side, the new action menu streamlines really your output choices for what you're going to do with your Composer output file, whether it's going to be downloaded, emailed, depending on what type of integration you might have in place. You might see other options here for e-signature or to send it to Google Drive, which I'll show you later. But either way, this action menu is going to give you the opportunity to change what type of action you're taking. And you'll notice that the action button down here at the bottom is changing along with that choice, so it's nice and contextual. So moving down here, activity logging is now separated into its three different feature sets, and each of them can be enabled or disabled independently. So in plain English, it really means that now saving a copy of your file, logging an activity, whether it's a completed task or a follow-up task, or updating fields in Salesforce are now totally independent of one another. You could do each one on its own. So I could enable or disable saving a copy of my output file, and I could choose where it's going to go. I could toggle on or off the ability to create an activity. You can see I can create my follow-up date, if it's going to be a follow-up task, set the subject, things like that. The ability to update your fields is just a simple toggle, just a little checkbox here. And that's going to work in conjunction with Composer's master field to set feature that allows you to do those field updates, but this just turns that on or off. So also important to note that all three of those activity logging feature sets, as I'm calling them, are available to be determined or predefined with parameters, right? So you could use a parameter to say that, yes, I do want to save a copy and check this box, or use another parameter to say which output destination you're going to be saving your copy. So parameters can also predefine all of these choices. All right, so that basically wraps up the user interface enhancements that I wanted to show you. But now we're going to talk about the enhancements to the template builder. So up here in Tools and Settings, this little drop-down, this is how you access the new template builder. And in general, the changes made to the template builder are geared to make the deployment of Composer solutions quicker and easier than ever. So that means getting merge fields physically into your template in new ways to make that faster and easier. But at the end of the day, getting your templates up and running and being merged by your users faster. So it sounds great, right? That's why we're all here. So I'm going to show you how that works. In the template builder, we can search and sort our field names. So I can search for maybe name here, and I could search for my opportunity name right out of this list where all my merge fields are displayed. And I could also sort those alphabetically. Up here, these other two buttons are going to give me the option to collapse or expand all of my group sections. And if I collapse them, a group section is really a data set. So I have my master data set and I have my opportunity line items, and each of these represent data sets I can get fields out of to add to my template. So the other thing you'll notice is that the master data set is now separated into its relevant sections. So in this case, because my opportunity is my master object, we've got a lot of related data. It's a great one for an example. So the master object right here is my opportunity, and in the true master data set I have fields from the opportunity and also the opportunity owner. In my master account data set, it is the related account, fields from there, and the account owner. The related contact, being a primary contact role on my opportunity, got fields from them too, and then also that contact's related account. So tons of related information. Composer really likes the opportunity as a master object. Merge fields are now available to be formatted for the type of template that you're working with. So that's what this little feature is down here for copying the field format. Depending on what type of template you're building, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all the way through, you could choose what type of format you're working with, and Composer will format your merge field that you pull out of the template builder for that type of template. Very handy. This other option down here is really important, so I want to take a moment to walk you through what this text-based merge field feature really means. Text-based merge fields are a new feature for Microsoft Word templates that you use with Composer that offer a new option for creating a merge field. Those familiar with Composer and the way that it works in its current form is that you have to insert a Microsoft Word mail merge field in order to get a merge field into your template. And it takes a couple clicks or some keyboard shortcuts. With text-based merge fields, you no longer have to do that. You have another way to get those fields in. So let's do a quick example. Let's expand all the group sections. Let's go find my opportunity name field again. And there are a couple different ways to get fields out of the template builder, and I'm going to show you those methods in just a second. But one of the basic ways to do it is using this little button right here to copy a single merge field. This is kind of the point and shoot method. So let's use both of these options. I'm creating a Word template. I'm going to use text-based merge fields, and I'm going to include the label of the field as well. So I actually have a little Word doc right over here that we can play around with. So let's copy this opportunity name field, clicking that button right there, and then pasting it in. See, the Composer included the label like we told it to, but this text-based merge field is just the field name surrounded by two curly brackets. That's it. It's just text. So it could be typed in. In this case, I just copied it over automatically from the template builder. But rather than inserting a mail merge field, it's simply text. Very easy. So let's take a look at the other big component of the template builder, which is this new right-hand side panel called the template canvas. And let's use that same field that we were just messing with, opportunity name, but let's add that to the template canvas with this little arrow. You can see that we told it to include the label, and it's a text-based merge field, but the merge field is over here in my canvas, and I can manipulate this field. I could toggle the label on or off. If there were more than one, I could move them up and down, or I could remove the field. Very handy to sort of mock up a template over here in this canvas before adding usually multiple merge fields to your template. So let's grab a couple. Go ahead and grab the stage name too, and I want to pull a date because I want to show you how we can do some formatting of certain values. So we'll grab the opportunity close date. You can see these are being stacked up on the right hand side. And then I also want to get the opportunity amount. So beautiful. We will go ahead and move that one over too. Let's do some formatting options. We will toggle the labels off for this. We'll look at our fields here in this little related menu. And say I want to move the amount up. I could do that automatically here, move it up a couple. Maybe the close date is going to go up as well. That looks good. Cool. So I'm moving some fields around. I can also apply a picture switch to certain types of fields. And what that means is that I could format, date fields like certain dates and numeric fields like certain numbers or currencies. So in this case, I got my close date field selected. I'm going to format that like a date right here on the fly. And you can see that Composer's added a picture switch, a little formatting code here that's going to work with a Word template to format 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and then the year spelled out. And that's important because originally my close date field had a sample value of midnight, had the timestamp there too. So now I can say, of course, I don't want to include the timestamp of midnight, just want to format my close date just like that. Can do the same thing with another field type for amount. That one's a currency, so it makes a lot of sense to format it like that too. And Composer will add that picture switch for you. The other thing to note about the template canvas is that you can actually create detail regions over here. And that means choosing fields from a data set of related information, like opportunity line items. So let's crack that open, and we're going to add some fields, like maybe the product name. So we'll get the product over here. Let's add that field. Just by adding one field, something dramatic happened over here in the canvas. It created a table for me, and based on the include label and text-based merge fields options, a table has been created over here. And it's just a simple 2-row table. If I toggle the label off, then it's going to be just one. There's no header. But my table start and table end fields were automatically added to this table so the Composer knows it's a detail region and there might be more than one row of data being merged to this table. So the ability to create detail regions on the fly and then of course format your fields in that detail region just like normal fields as well. Pretty handy. Cool. So as I mentioned, I want to show you the different ways that you can add merge fields from the template builder to a template. We saw one method before, which I call the point and shoot method. You go to an individual merge field and use this little button right here to copy it to your clipboard and paste it. So that's one way to do it. But over here in the template canvas, there's a couple different options. The click and drag method, where you can click on a section of merge fields, or a singular merge field, or even a whole detail region. And if you click it to select it, you can then drag that over to your template. So here, I got all 4 merge fields there. And then we can do the same thing with my detail region. So click it once to select, drag it over, got a table built for me already. So that's handy. The other thing you can do, and this is really good for mixed content. So an example over here in the canvas being mixed content where I have master fields, but also a detail region. You can select all template regions. So clicking this button right down here at the bottom selects all those regions, and then you can copy and paste those over kind of all in one go. So if I grab all these regions and drag them over, just a way to grab multiple pieces of content out of the canvas, different types of merge fields, and just drag them over. The last one, which is kind of my favorite, is the ability to fully download a template. And this only works for Word at this point, but you can create and download a new template, a full Word template, based on what you have in the canvas. So we've got these fields here, and clicking that, my new template is ready in seconds, and it's a good way to just get a really quick head start on building your template. If you know you need a lot of fields, put all your fields you need in your template canvas and then just have it download it for you, and you can just mix and match and format and add those to your template as needed. Really, really handy. All right, so I think that basically wraps up the enhancements to the template builder that I wanted to show you. So we're going to launch right into the next topic, which is the new email editor available in Composer 8. So I'm going to fire up this same button we were working with before, and in order to get to the HTML email editor screen, I actually got to send an email. So make sure I've got my email template selected here and turn off all the extra features I don't need right now. But hitting merge an email, I'm merging obviously a document. I've got an attachment to this outbound email that I'm merging data into, but most importantly into the body of the HTML email template. And most of the new features around the new email editor are around formatting the actual content of your email. But there are a couple kind of functional changes too that I want to walk you through. So we'll start at the top of this new interface and work downwards. So not much has changed about your primary recipient here. You could look up for someone else and the ability to relate this to a Salesforce record. But this new button that says Add Recipients gives me a new little pop-up window where I can add additional recipients to this email, either contacts, leads, or users, and separate them into their relevant sections. So I'm just going to punch in the letter A so I get some results here. But you can see I've got contacts, leads, and users, and hovering over any one of those gives me a little bit more detail about what that record is. I can also go about adding another column here. I could add the email column as well. I could filter for maybe just contacts and leads if I wanted to. And most importantly, I can select different individuals here out of the list and add them as either additional to CC or BCC. Pretty cool. So after I make those selections, hit done, it's added them to these new fields right here in the address block. So moving down here, I'm going to go ahead and collapse the address info so we can take a look at these new editing options in terms of formatting the content of our email with all these features right here. It's kind of a wall of buttons, if you will. So I'm going to highlight what I think are the handier features in this wall of buttons, but there's a lot of features depending on what you need to format. There's quite a few options here. So one thing you can do is scroll through, obviously, to see what your email looks like, but if you need to see the full picture, hit the preview button right here, opens that up in a new browser tab or window, and you can see the whole email body. Some handy things like find and replace, obviously good text markup. Some interesting things around adding an image here. If you click this button, you can put in a source URL and do some custom sizing around width and height and things like that. But also turn this into a link to another URL and even set the target. Pretty handy kind of HTML-based features there. And obviously some cool styles you could do. You can actually add anchor links in the body of your email, so it's almost like a web page at that point. Font sizes, coloring. But when it comes to exercising precise formatting control, you can use this little source button to go back and forth between the HTML view of what's actually comprising the body of this email, all the HTML underneath it, and the marked up version that we're normally looking at. So for those of you who do work with HTML, it can be very handy to use this source button to go back and forth between the two views and make little formatting changes just on the fly. So the next thing I want to show you in terms of Conga HTML email template functionality in Composer 8, I'm going to click a slightly different custom link here to demonstrate. And if I click this other custom link, what I want to show you is Composer 8's new ability to include multiple distinct output file attachments on an email. So in plainer English, what that really means is that if I have 4 templates, let's say they're Word templates like this, and I want to keep them in Word format, and I want to merge and attach these to an email. The default behavior of Composer is going to be to create a zip file and put all 4 of those Word merged output files in that zip file. But if you use a new parameter available in Composer 8 called zip files equals 0, and I've included that in my button URL here, so when I merge those, they are 4 individual Word document attachments here rather than a single zip file. So the parameter again is zip files equals 0. But that allows you to do that now with Composer 8, and you can see all 4 of them in our output file container. So now that we've seen the new features in the email editor when we're sending emails with Composer 8, I want to wrap up the topic of HTML email enhancements by showing you what's new in the Conga email template editor. So rather than just making changes to the already merged Conga email template that we've seen right here, I want to show you some of the enhancements in Composer 8 around the email template creation process. And in general, those enhancements are geared to give you an unprecedented level of flexibility when it comes to formatting the content of your HTML emails. So what I'm dragging over here is a Conga email template record. And for those of you who have worked with Conga email template records before, this should look pretty familiar. But like I said, there are a couple main enhancements to email template creation in Composer 8 that I want to take you through. So if we look at the advanced editor right here, the first major difference we're going to notice is that we have all those new content formatting options, what I was calling the wall of buttons, here available in our email template editor as well. So all those same formatting features we have available when we're building templates too. The second enhancement I want to show you is this little checkbox up at the top that says Save Template Body to Attachment. And this means that if this box is checked and we save this Conga email template record, Composer is going to store the body of my HTML email template. So all this content here, it's going to save it as a .html attachment to my Conga email template record. So if I make this choice and I select this box here and save, it's going to create that .html attachment rather than taking the body of my email and putting it into a Salesforce rich text field. So what does this mean? The benefit is that by storing your email template as this HTML attachment, it allows you to get around some of the limitations imposed by Salesforce rich text fields, particularly around table cell formatting and size restrictions. So a lot of the complex formatting that these new features here enable can be preserved when we actually save our email template by circumventing the Salesforce rich text field and using this .html attachment instead. So with this box checked, if I save this Conga email template, we're going to see an attachment on my record right down here, .html, and here in the HTML body where it would normally be stored, it's telling me that it's stored in this attachment record instead. Awesome. So that wraps up the email features I wanted to show you. So we're going to move right on into the next topic, which is the integration with Google Drive. And Composer 8 now integrating with Google Drive is very exciting stuff because it gives Composer users some powerful new options around output file storage, document collaboration, and even cloud-based template creation. So there are three main uses for the integration, and I'm going to talk you through them first, and then we're going to physically walk through some examples to show you how it works. So the first use being the ability to save a copy of your output file to Google Drive. So Composer 8 could take a Microsoft Office template, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, go ahead and merge that and save a copy into Google Drive as an Office formatted file or a PDF. The next use being the actual conversion, using Composer 8 to convert a Microsoft Office template, Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, to a Google Doc, sheet, or slide. Depending on the type of conversion you're doing, it's going to take your template, convert it to a Google formatted file. The third and final use is the ability to go, and it's really driven by the new text-based merge fields that Composer 8 provides, the ability to create Conga Composer templates in Google Drive as a Google Doc, sheet, or slide, but then go about saving those as Office files and uploading them to Salesforce without the need to use Microsoft Office. So I will show you how all three of those work. Going up to my related account here, we're going to walk through that first use, which is saving a copy of my output file to Google. So if I fire up this button, I'm going to see a different list of templates here that I've filtered down, and I'm going to take this Word account plan, and I'm going to convert it to PDF, and I'm going to locally download it. That's the action, but I'm going to go ahead and save a copy to Google Drive. And I use two new parameters here to enable this. The SC0, as in save a copy 0 equals 1 parameter, is going to check this box to enable that. And if I set SC1, save copy 1, to Google, it's going to enable this Google Drive option as an output destination. So I'm going to merge and download. I'm going to get a PDF for my own local download. And that little window that we just saw was Google authorizing Conga Composer. I'm already logged into Google in my browser, so it's already authenticated me, but the first time you fire that up, it'll ask for Composer 8 to establish permissions for the app so it can modify some data in Drive and add files there for you. So first we got a local download. Great, I've got a PDF account plan, fantastic, but I was trying to put it up to Google and save a copy there. So if I close out of this window and head over to Google Drive, I want to give you a quick tour of the folder structure here. These two folders, Conga Documents and Conga Preview, Composer will create for you when you integrate with Drive. I created a new custom folder, and I actually did this beforehand, called it my custom folder, but then I used a new feature that we have for the Google Drive integration, a parameter called OFP, and that stands for Output File Path. I have the ability to define an output file path with Composer, and it can create folders and entire directories on the fly. So in this case, I used an output file path to say, okay, go to my custom folder, but create a folder based on my account's name. So this folder was created by Composer 8 when I merged it, and I actually put my PDF account plan right here. So two things to recap there is that Composer, with its OFP parameter, was able to create an output file path and put this file somewhere in particular. It created some folders on the way, and it stored an output copy of my PDF right here. It's the same PDF we downloaded, but just stored here. So that's the first example where you can save an output copy just up to Drive in Office or PDF format. But let's walk through how you can convert a Microsoft Office template to a Google format. So using this other button here to go direct to Google, what I'm going to show you is using a PowerPoint template for Composer, but going about converting that to a Google slide on the output. So we're using a new parameter here to define our action. You can see the action, it's not download or email like we saw before, it's actually now Google Docs. And that is driven by a new parameter, Google Visible equals 1. So it's pretty self-explanatory, and that just sets your action to be Google Docs. So I'm going to use this PowerPoint template, I'm going to hit merge in Google Docs, and Composer is going to merge data to it, but it's going to actually convert it to a Google slide and pop open a window for us so that we can see that right away. The conversion between PowerPoint and Google Slides, you're going to see a little bit of formatting difference just based on what PowerPoint can do versus what Google Slides can do. But I'll show you what this looks like when we get a converted output. So as you can see, my window's just popping open. And here, it's kind of parsing together all my slides, and I've merged some data to each. But the major point being here that we actually converted it to a Google formatted output. If I open that up and I see where that is in Drive, I use that same parameter that I was talking about before, OFP, to define my output file path, put it in the same account folder, and I stored it right here. So you can tell just by the icon right away, that's a Google slide, that's a Google presentation. So the conversion happened there. The third use of the integration is the ability to build a Google Doc sheet or slide template and convert it to Microsoft Office format, and then go about uploading that to Salesforce as a Conga Composer template. But throughout that process, you don't need to actually have Microsoft Office in order to create your template and upload it. So I mentioned I had a couple other folders in here that I created, so one of those was Conga templates. And for sake of time, I've already whipped up a sample Conga template here. But this is just a Google Doc. This isn't Microsoft Word, and I've used text-based merge fields in here to bring in some fields. I created a really simple detail region. I even used a quick little sum above function, and I even created an if statement, text-based if statement right here to check and see if the account's billing state is Colorado or not. Just real simple. So I brought fields over from the template builder into this Google Doc, and the process from there would be to go ahead and file and then download as a Microsoft Word document. So I have Word installed on my computer, so it's going to try to open it as an actual Microsoft Word file. But if I don't, it's just a file with an extension on the end, .docx. So if I save that somewhere on my computer, I could then go over to Salesforce and go over to the Conga Template Manager and go about uploading that template. And I've actually stored it right here as my Google Doc template. So that's the same file. If I had downloaded that and just uploaded it right here, that would be the process. So again, the main takeaway from that third use is that you don't necessarily need to have Microsoft Office in order to build templates that are compatible with Composer 8. Awesome. Well, that is pretty much all I wanted to cover today in terms of what's new in Conga Composer 8. I really want to thank everyone for making the time and for taking some time out of their day to review these new features with me. And I hope you enjoyed it. And now I'm going to turn this back over to Teresa, who's going to facilitate Q&A.
All right, thanks, Rob. That was awesome. All right, so we did get quite a few questions that came through. I'll just start at the top here. One question is, for clients on a much earlier version of Conga Composer, is there anything that needs to be considered before upgrading to Composer 8?
Awesome question. One of the biggest things that we've taken care to ensure as we're working on Composer 8 is backward compatibility. So I would encourage you during the beta period to test your existing solutions. There's a few different ways to do that. And if you should have gotten an invitation to the beta, Conga Composer 8 beta campaign a little while ago, and it has some information in that email about how to go about testing solutions with Composer 8 now. But I would say the best thing to do in the meantime is just test them. Make sure they work. All of our tests have gone really well so far, and like I said, it's a big emphasis to make sure everything's compatible backwards, but give it a shot and let us help you during the beta period, while things are fresh and you're not being forced to upgrade or anything like that, and we have some flexibility to test it. So I would say that in general, there aren't any huge backward compatibility issues because we've taken some care for that, but give it a shot. Definitely test it during beta and see if there are any hiccups potentially. So you can get access to Composer 8 Beta today. There's 3 different ways to do it, so they're all outlined in that beta email that I was explaining before, but I'll just sort of run through them. Right now, existing Composer 7 solutions, if you're a system administrator, you're going to see a little link in the bottom right corner of your window that says C8. And if you click that, it'll just run the exact same solution that you were running in Composer 7 with the new release. So that's the easiest way. I think we're calling that the quick test, to be able to run your solution through Composer 8 and experience that functionality. But you can also change the first line of an existing Composer 7 button URL to a different, basically the different application. You're just going to hit Composer 8 with a slightly different URL, and that's another way to test it. The third way is only available for Sandbox and Developer Editions environments, but you can actually physically download the package, the Composer 8 beta package, into a Sandbox or development org and test it fully there. But it really just depends on what type of org you're working with and what solutions you have in place. A couple different ways to do that. And if you do need information about that test guide, or if you didn't get that beta email, definitely let us know. Just drop a note to anyone else over here on the team, and we'll be happy to get that email sent off.
Great. And then let's see, another question was, I think it has to do with the presentation. They were asking what was the checkbox on the template viewer that said include Salesforce content and documents?
Yeah, great question. So to recap that, it was when we were looking at the multiple template selection dialog window. And I think I can probably just go back there to show you, but that little option to include things from content or documents, that was giving you the ability to actually pull a template, a Conga template, if it was stored in Salesforce content or documents. You could select one out of those kind of repositories as well. So this is looking at the Conga templates repository, but if I hit this checkbox and I had other templates in content or documents, I'd see them available in the list. But great question.
Do we have the option to format the date picture switch so that it is in UK format?
Yes, the answer is definitely yes, but not in the template canvas. So in the template canvas, the default option there was what I showed you guys, where it takes the month and then the dash and then the days and then the dash and then the 4-digit year. But once you get that merge field out of the template canvas and into your Word template, you can definitely switch those up so the day comes first, and it's formatted not just for us Americans.
Anything else you wanted to share with the group?
No, I just really want to thank everyone for their time, and if questions do come up while you're testing Composer 8, I'd encourage you to send an email to our support team, just somehow indicating that it's about the Composer 8 beta. So as you're going through these tests on your existing solutions or trying out some of the new features, and you see something that doesn't look right or you have some questions, sending an email to support@congamerge.com with the words Composer 8 beta in the subject line somewhere, that's going to be the best way to sort of flag it for our team to know it's about Composer 8 and categorize it like that and give you guys some support. So if you do come up against any sort of questions or issues while you're playing around with this, just let us know and we'll be happy to take a look.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rob. After today's session, we'll post the recording and FAQs and release notes online, as well as on our YouTube channel. So you also receive a follow-up email from today's webinar with these links as well. I know there was a few of you that submitted some questions that we didn't quite get to, so we are happy to send you a direct email and kind of follow up with you that way. And as Rob said, please be sure to let us know what you think, and if you do have questions, just reach out to us. We're all here and available and ready to help. So we hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thanks again for joining us. Have a good day.